What's up, folks? You believe that? Hold on. Do you believe that?
Buffs Nation, what is going on? Man, oh man, we got a lot going on today. It's looking like we got about 6 inches at least. Man, that might actually be closer to a foot of snow here in Colorado this weekend. Hey, but thank God, right? We had the Groundhog Day stuff go on yesterday. Spring, it's going to come a little bit earlier, which means we should be good to go for the spring game this year, right? We don't have to worry about any of that snow, those miserable conditions. We get the majority of our snow out here in February and March. Let's not have to worry about that come late April this year. You guys know what I'm saying? So, hey, hopefully you guys are having a great day. Please hit that like. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We got a handful of pieces of news information to talk about. And hey, first thing, at this point, Antonio Brown might be the new DC. At this point, it's anybody's guess. I got no idea. We'll see whenever that comes. I mean, no college football season or team has ever gone into the season without a DC, right? So we just gotta be patient, I guess. The news, it's eventually gonna come, right? Now, Cole Mathis, little brother of Kayla Mathis, looks like he's coming here as a walk-on as well. I have no idea what position he plays. I'm just gonna put that out there. I got no information about him. So if y'all know what position he plays, let me know. But this isn't why you guys are tuning in. You're tuning in because I want to play some speculation games right now with Chip Kelly. So let me cut the music and let's get right into it. You have seen, man, you guys crack me up. You guys have seen the news about Chip Kelly, right? I mean, this is just, if you're a Bruins fan and you're watching this, how are you feeling, man? You got to be feeling miserable, right? Jesse Simonton is reporting that Chip Kelly really wants out of this whole thing. Wow. And it's so bad, guys, that Chip Kelly has shown interest in NFL offensive coordinator jobs, and he even showed interest in Iowa's offensive coordinator job. Guys, imagine hating your job so much and being done with this head coaching stuff, the college football level, that you are asking, hey, can I go to Iowa? Man, that is bad. But if Kelly leaves as they're transitioning to the Big Ten this year, man, this is going to be disastrous. And that 30-day window opens up for players to transfer out and leave. And so before I get to some of your comments, I wanted to go through and highlight a few different names that, hey, if this does happen, I would love for CU to at least make that phone call, to at least reach out, say, hey, we need you here at the Buffs, because they got some guys, especially at our positions of need. Like, we're talking about interior line, we're talking about linebacker, edge, offensive line, like all of that. That would be great to target. So let me get into it and show you, like, even this past year, things have just not been looking good for UCLA. I'm on the wrong tab here. Give me 1 second. Look at this, guys. This is a team, a program that has done very well with Chip Kelly at the helm, and it seems like they've just started to lose momentum. Maybe Chip Kelly's getting a little burnout from this whole college football recruiting, the NIL. College football is a total grind, and for them to have the year that they had this year and to bring in right now the 58th overall class, that is terrible. That is awful. To put this in perspective, guys, like, we were recruiting better than this with Carl Durrell. Like, this is bad. This is really bad. And like, they've brought in some high school guys, which I don't really know too many guys, but that they brought in from the high school ranks. But particularly, they brought in an edge that I thought would be a massive addition for CU. I'm going to butcher his name, but Collins Achimempong, 6'7", edge that was at University of Miami this past year for his redshirt freshman year. So he's been in college for a year, transfers out to UCLA. Okay. Maybe he has the opportunity to, jump in the transfer portal if Chip Kelly leaves. He has so much eligibility left, and we need some more layers within this edge group, right? We got some guys that can play multiple years, like Samuel Okunlola, Keaton Wade. Of course, Aaron Walker still has some years left. Taj McCoy, but BJ Green's going to be one and done, I believe. And so a guy like Collins, Achimampong, I'm trying my best. Hey, at least he brings some solid potential from California, so it makes sense of why he would return to UCLA. But hey, 4-star rated guy, nationally ranked player. And again, kind of like Baby T.O., for instance, was a highly rated guy, but just didn't get on the field this past year. And so, his transfer rating drops down. Like for me, I don't really care about that. But I mean, I think this would be a type of athlete that we could use more of in the edge room. So he's somebody that's like, hey, let's go and reach out to him, seeing where he's at. Okay. Now, let's take another look at Pro Football Focus. They got some guys here in the interior that I think we should target as well. I don't believe Gary Smith has declared for the NFL draft, if I am correct on that. But this is a guy, for instance, that has rated incredibly high in the run defense category. So he's somebody that, at 6'2", 315, you could put right next to Chidozie Nwankwo and have a really stellar starting interior defensive line. I would absolutely love that. We can take a look at some of his stats as well. 14 tackles with another 5 assisted tackles. 10 stops. That's really solid. And, he can get a little pressure, 9 total pressures as well. But overall, he's really going to excel in run defense more so than the pass rush. I would love for us to go after him. And he's a guy that can play more of that 4-3 defensive tackle position, but also play a little bit of nose. So that's, that's cool to see as well. Now, getting to Keanu Williams, he's another guy that should have a few more years of eligibility as well. 6'5", 310. Not as highly rated as somebody like Gary Smith III, but this is a guy that took, a ton of snaps, 248. That's great. He's getting meaningful snaps. He's playing a meaningful role in that UCLA defense, where honestly, a lot of those guys from this past year were poached by USC because they lost their defensive coordinator to USC. Wow. But another really solid grade in run defense, 73.9. He also had 10 stops and 5 pressures. So that's great. And yeah, you can line him up kind of anywhere over the defensive line, but we don't have a lot of guys that are, well over 300 pounds right now. We got somebody like Torian Carter and Quinn Barnes. They're saying Chidozie is over that 300-pound threshold now as well. And we'll see where Amari McNeil comes in for this year. But this is another guy that, man, I would absolutely love for us to target bringing in interior defensive line talent, because just like my video that we looked at, maybe it was on Wednesday, the edge room, we've made a ton of progress there. And I like the type of athlete that we're bringing in at the interior, but outside of Chidozie, we don't really have anybody that has shown true production on the field yet. So handful more question marks there at the interior. There are a few other guys that I wanted to highlight here. Let me see if or maybe that was it. No, there were a couple other guys from the 2023 recruiting class that UCLA brought in, guys that didn't really get on the field much. One would be highly recruited linebacker from last year, Trey Edwards. This is a guy who has who should excel in stopping the run. So we got a guy like Jalen Wester who can, stop the run, play in pass coverage, right? We got Levante Bentley, but we would like to bring in some more competition there, right? Who knows where Trevor Woods is going to be at? Who knows if Demoy Kennedy can stay healthy? Still a lot of question marks in the linebacker group. Could Keaton Wade come inside and play a little bit inside, depending on what kind of package we're wanting to have defensively? But highly recruited, 4-star guy, touted as a run stopper, able to fire through gaps and stop the running back in the backfield, can bring heat to the quarterback as well, shows plus instincts and athleticism, physical backer, a sure tackler who will end plays on first contact, solid in pass coverage, and can move fluidly in space, a 3-down backer with his ability to make plays against the run and the pass. What's not to like there, right? Comparison, Corey Littleton in the Los Angeles Rams, projected as a Power 5 starter. And I think I might have had his grades up here really quickly if I can find those. Yeah, actually, I don't think he got on the field this past year. I'm not seeing him show up in Pro Football Focus. So that would mean he'd have another 4 years of eligibility, taking a redshirt year this year. But yeah, I love to see that. And then there was one other guy that I thought would be pretty interesting if we could reach out to. Donovan Pillow was another guy who got time this year at UCLA, if I remember correctly. Only played 27 snaps this year, so make of that what you want. But we do need some more talent there in competition in the linebacker room. And why not? Why not just take a stab at some of their offensive linemen that they've brought in? UCLA's had a pretty solid offensive line over the last handful of years. And so overall, I think that this is something as Buffs fans we need to be monitoring. What's going to happen with UCLA? Who do they hire to replace Chip Kelly, right? Is it possible that Cliff Kingsbury has an eye on that job with Chip Kelly trying to get out of it? We'll just have to see. I think with a guy, if they were to hire somebody like Cliff Kingsbury, you might be more likely to keep a lot of your players. But right now, in terms of the momentum of the program, it's not looking good. When you're Chip Kelly and you're not recruiting, even to the level that Carl Durrell was here at CU, that is bad. That is very, very bad. So that's what I wanted to get to today. Again, curious to hear your thoughts on if there's any other guys from UCLA that you've seen that might be worth us taking a look at. But as a Buffs fan, man, I'm hoping I'm hoping that Chip Kelly leaves and that you see this transfer portal period of 30 days open up, because I would imagine that there would be some guys that would be interested in coming and playing for this program, especially at linebacker and interior defensive line, where there's a lot of opportunity to play, no doubt. So anyways, guys, I'll scroll back up and get to some of your comments. We'll go here for a little bit. All that. Let's see. William Berry's got his starting lineup. Center, Tyler Brown. Right guard, got Tyler Johnson. Left guard, you got Justin Mayers. Right tackle, you got Benson. And at left tackle, you got Savion Washington. And starting wide receivers, I guess you got two of them, Jalen Wester and Travis Hunter. I would say Will Shepard and Travis Hunter will probably be the two guys on there. You can flip Justin Mayers and Tyler Johnson around. But I think most of this I agree with. I think you'll still see McCaskill start above Edwards, kind of like how you have it right there. But I do think Jordan Seaton will play left tackle, and I do think Savion Washington. Right now, I think he's going to be our starting right tackle. In terms of defensive line or starting defense, Preston Hodge, Travis Hunter over there at corner, Cameron Silman, Craig, and Shiloh at safety. What else we got here? Outside linebacker, Nikhil, I'm forgetting his last name, from New Mexico State, and BJ Green. On the inside, you got Chidoze and Quinn Barnes. D end, you got Samuel and Keaton Wade. Is that more than 12 guys? I'm sorry, man. I can't, or 11 guys. I can't count. But I think right now, in terms of Nikhil, like it's tough to judge somebody like him. We'll see like where somebody like Quincy Wiggins, ends up. I think I like his potential a little bit better than somebody like Nikhil, but we'll just have to see. I mean, these guys are going to have to earn it. Your guess is as good as mine right now, William Berry. KMS saying Iowa would honestly be really good if they could score, right? They're just an offense away, right? Chrissy, I would love Chip Kelly as our OC. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. We got Pat Shurmur, so we'll see how that goes. We need a ton of more offensive players, especially at the offensive line. I wouldn't mind some more tight ends. That was another group that I hadn't seen as well. And I'd like to see us bring in some more running backs. I mean, you could say that we're probably set at wide receiver and quarterback, but outside of that, I still feel like we need a ton of depth. And maybe running back saying we need a ton of depth is a little bit of a stretch, but it would be nice to have another guy in there because we have like 4 guys right now, but they're all kind of different types. And so, yeah, we're kind of one injury away at the running back position by having to kind of change our offense a little bit in terms of how we want to use our running backs. Why did the Buffs pick up this kid? Well, he's one of the coach's sons, to put it, frank. That's why it's coming on as a walk-on, just like Caleb Mathis is. I want to make too much of it, right? Yeah. Guys, we should know how this rolls. I mean, we had Cody Hawkins as our starting quarterback for how many years, right? We know how this whole thing goes. Walk on, nothing, not huge news. Oh, he's a junior. Okay, so he's got some time to put on some weight. But yeah, any sort of decent middle linebacker would be great. You got to imagine that we're going to continue to, attack the portal on the inside. Inside linebacker and interior defensive line. David talks Buffs. Any Colorado kids on the roster that could be easy pickings? Do you mean the Colorado Buffaloes roster or like Colorado high school? I have no idea in terms of high school. But yeah, I got no idea. UCLA is in shambles. Cliff Kingsbury, I thought he just took himself out of the running. Oh yeah. Hodge will play slot. He'll kind of play that little star position. He's mainly a slot corner. I know some people have him as safety, but just like we saw Cameron Silman Craig, for instance, play a lot of that same role. I think you'll see Cameron Silman Craig move back to free safety. I think he's got enough speed to play that position, and you'll see Preston Hodge do what he does best and play that slot really well. Yo, David, you can only have one run stopping. Can you only have one run stopping DT or linebacker? No, absolutely not. We need more of those guys for sure. Or if you're asking me a question, if you can only have one run stopping DT or running back, who would I pick? Defensive tackle, man. That's just like the offensive line and running backs. You need a good offensive line to create opportunities for your running backs, just like you need DTs to do their job to open up opportunities for the linebackers to make play. If you got good lines up front, your linebackers and running backs, they're going to look better. So always priority should be on the line. Ivan, appreciate the kind words. So, what's up, Dave? Love your channel. Also, looking forward to see you making strides this year. Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, I got us winning 9 games, baby. I absolutely love that. But hey, as long as we make another 3-win jump, that puts us at 7 wins, puts us in a bowl game, puts us in a Pop-Tarts bowl game. Hey, and if we win 9 games, that puts us in contention for the Big 12 title, which then puts us in contention for college football playoff, all of that. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios for a lot of good things to happen for CU this year. I think the biggest thing is that we just want to continue to see development and improvement, right? Sco Buffs Daily, what's up? Y'all go check him out. He's killing it on the Twitter Space game. Greetings, best man. David, anyone worth getting from UCLA if Chip Kelly leaves outside of situational, rotational pieces? The portal is a little dried up right now. Yeah, I think some of those guys that I highlighted, on the interior, somebody like Keanu Williams or, Gary Smith, I think those guys would be instant starters here at the interior next to Chidoze. So, yeah. And then you bring in a guy such as Trey Edwards, for instance, at inside linebacker. And I think he could compete for a starting spot, no doubt. My man, David, we need a true no, 6'2", 320 pounds. Hey, Byron, I'm right there with you. Wouldn't it be great to get one of those 350-pound guys, that Georgia and Texas have, for instance? Sadly, those guys are very rare, and they do not grow on trees, nor do they enter the portal very often. So, yes, I'm in full agreement with you there. They're just hard to come by, man. So hopefully we can recruit one out of high school. I think that's probably our best path to getting one. Oh, Russ was talking about any Colorado kids on the UCLA roster that could make the jump. Well, let me go ahead and pull up the UCLA roster really quick because I already got it open. 1 second. All right, we're going to start from the top. Come on now. What's up with all this? My internet cut out. Well, I guess Control F is not working right now, so I'm going to have to do this manually, but I'm not seeing any. Goodness. I'm not seeing any Colorado. Okay. We have Jake Heimlicher, redshirt senior transfer. Is he any good? He plays defensive end. So let me look up and see what he's done this past year. If he got on the field at all. He played 127 snaps this past year. So, I probably don't really care to take a chance on him. Who else we got from Colorado, if anybody? Got a guy from Pueblo. Kane Madrano. I think he is done in terms of eligibility. So I don't think so. So no. To give you your answer there, no. Probably not any Colorado guys we want to look at. We got crushed across the middle. Now our defensive line is awesome, but we still need 2 more pass rushers. It would be really nice if we can get a guy that can create consistently pressure from the inside. I think Tarian Carter could definitely do that. I think Quincy Wiggins, depending on where he's playing on the line, has the potential to do that as well. But again, we just haven't seen Quincy on the field. So that's probably more of like a hope rather than something that we can depend on, where at least Tarian Carter's shown it, to some degree. And yeah, bringing in another edge like Collins, Achium and Pong, guys, man, I'll get it down if he transfers here. Okay, a 6'7" edge, 270 pounds, 4-star guy last year. I love that. But in terms of like our edge rotation, I feel like it's really good. All right, let's see. But yeah, we also got guys like Victory Johnson, Kofi Taylor Barracks, Morgan Pearson. I think guys that have a lot of athleticism but are a little bit raw, and maybe one of them might make the jump to be ready for their redshirt freshman year. I still would expect that they're probably another year or so away before being ready to regularly contribute. But yeah, we got some guys like Demoy Kennedy. Kind of his story has been, hey, he's very athletic, but can he stay healthy? That type of thing. We'll have to see. Steve G. Y'all talk about players and then still missing coaches. Players don't mean a thing without a system and leadership. Steve G, I get your point, but let's be real. Every defense could use edge rushers, right? Every defense could use a cornerback like DJ McKinney coming in here. Um, you know, there are still other football programs that are looking to hire not only DCs, but other positional coaches as well. Would it be ideal in having those things already figured out? Yes. But to act like we shouldn't be talking about it, I think that's kind of honestly kind of dumb. Like the fact that Coach Prime could be getting somebody like BJ Green out here, that could be getting Samuel Okunlowa, Keaton Wade, DJ McKinney out here, Preston Hodge, without a DC named, I think it's quite impressive. And I don't think it takes a genius from a defensive schematic standpoint to understand how these guys are improving like the 128th ranked defense in the entire country. So I just don't get it. David, what is your history in playing in or coaching football? Well, I have said I am a professional keyboard coach here on YouTube, and I've watched football my whole life. Absolutely. Yeah, I have never played football. Steve G, haven't you been watching my channel? Don't you know my history by now? I'm not afraid to say it. Do I look like somebody that has played football? Absolutely not. But I sure as hell have spent a lot of my weekends throughout my life watching a hell of a lot of football. So I'm I mean, other guys have been fantastic, fantastic football coaches without having ever played a down. So if those guys can do it, I sure can get on here and give my 2 cents about it. But in terms of saying we got no leadership and all this, man, Steve G, don't hit me with that bullshit. But I mean, Steve G, if you're so if you're so opinionated, why don't you get on here and start your own channel, man? You sure talk a lot in the comments. Come on, let's get on here and have a conversation. Put yourself out there. Put your face out there. Put yourself in front of the masses to be criticized by everybody. Come on. Don't hit me with that bullshit behind the little computer. Get on here. Let's have a conversation, man. We still have a month plus before spring practice starts. Yeah, and I don't even think these guys can even get their playbooks right now. If that's how you want to interpret it, I mean, I'm not afraid to clap back and have a conversation, right? Tell me your experience, Steve G. But all that to say, I love the trolls. They're all part of our wonderful dysfunctional family here with Buffs Nation. I need to ask Matt when he wants to come on. I know that I've been waiting for the NCAA football game to come out because I do want to play him. I do want to play him. But I got to practice, guys, because I don't play video games. So once I get that thing going, I'm definitely going to have that on. And yes, William Barry, April 27th is the spring game, and hopefully we don't get any more snow. I think the years that I've lived out here, we've had a couple snows like late April, but nothing outside of that has been bad. So, of course, last year sucked. I mean, that sucked. I think I left sometime in like the third quarter because I was just so cold, especially after drinking those beers, man. Just want to get out of there. David, you and I stream playing together, playing each other in NCAA this summer in chat buffs. I would absolutely love that. We got to do that. And going back to Matt McChesney, I think I'm just trying to wait for the right opportunity for something that might be really relevant to have him on the show with. So yeah, if we're able to bring in somebody that he's trained with a bunch or that he's worked with a bunch, whether that's through the transfer portal, I guess it would have to be at this point, unless one of his guys signs on National Signing Day, which is coming up next week, right? Let me see. February 7th, next week. But yeah, that's kind of like what I'm looking for. Same with DMAC. Steve G, just asking questions. Hey, all I'm going to say is Mike Leach never played a down of football in his life. So, hey, it doesn't take a genius to understand, what trash football looks like, what half decent football looks like, and what good football looks like, right? But I don't market myself as some football genius. I just give you my take. All right. Let's see what else we got. Oh, this is a great comment, Macho Man. I'd love to see more players join the track team like Dylan Edwards. Yes, they had a track meet today. Dylan did well. That's awesome. Do you know if he placed at all or what he's running? I know very little about track, but hey, I would love to see some of our wide receivers and corners join the track team. I think that would be really cool. Jimmy Horn, LeJonte Wester. I don't know if he ran at FIU, but that would be pretty cool to see. So hats off to Dylan. I love that. CJ Hurd commitment is February 8th. Why is National Signing Day on the 7th? Was I looking at the wrong year or something? Yeah. College Football National Signing Day is February 7th. So, I mean, wouldn't he have to sign on the 7th? How does all this stuff work, guys? But I think Hurt's coming, especially with it being down between CU and UCLA. No doubt. And he's another guy that I like Jaden Milner-Jones, that I think is a guy that possibly could see a little bit of time his freshman year, but might be a year or two away but before substantially contributing. But I like a lot of his skills. I think he's a great tackler. He's got a great nose for the ball. I love it. And we need some more safeties coming in here. Dude, Mike Leach was the best, man. I don't care what team you're a fan of, man. Mike Leach was freaking awesome. Yo, David, what's up with Brian Kelly? Just got here. Brian Kelly, I think, is staying at LSU. Maybe you're thinking about Chip Kelly, but Chip Kelly, it's looking like he's trying to get out of this job that he's at UCLA. It got to the point where, man, he's like, hey, I'll go to Iowa. I'll go to Iowa and be the offensive coordinator. Who wants to live in Iowa? Man. David, you said 9-3. Who are those 3 losses? Got Kansas State, Kansas, and Utah. Oklahoma State is kind of that toss up for me, but I'm just giving it. So you could say 8-4 with us winning one, a tough one at home. That's kind of more of a toss up in my mind, putting that towards the Buffs. All right. Let's see what else. Y'all got any other questions? Yeah, Kansas State did lose their quarterback, but I believe that they've kind of had a guy in waiting that should be pretty good. Plus, I mean, that's a well-coached football team that's going to run the football primarily. That they're not going to put too much pressure on whoever's behind center to win games for them. They're going to same with Kansas. I mean, they're going to run the ball. They're going to play really good defense, and then put their quarterback in situations where they need to make plays in certain situations, but they're not going to put too much on their plate. I'm curious to see how Will Howard does at Ohio State. I'm not really sure. Why does everybody think we're losing to Kansas State? Well, I mean, they are the Pop-Tarts Bowl champions, and they still got the man in charge, Chris Klieman, who I think has really proven himself to be one of the better coaches in college football. So I think he earns the benefit of the doubt when it comes to replacing coordinators as well as elevating and picking the right coaches. All right. Let's see what else we got here. William Barry saying, I really like Eric Brantley, man. He has very good speed. I watched some of his game tape, like his upside, going to be a dog. Yeah, thank you for bringing up Eric Brantley. He is another one of these young edges, or maybe a guy that could play, some defensive end as well. We'll see if he'll have his hand in the ground or be more stand up. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I looked at his tape. If he's more of kind of that outside linebacker type or more of a outside defensive end. But yeah, he's a guy that played very high level football there in Georgia. I believe he was like the regional defensive player of the year or something like that in Georgia or something like that. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I think we brought in him, Brandon Davis Swain, I think is a guy that's going to play a prominent role in the defensive line here in the future. It's just hard for me to ever put too much expectation on true freshmen coming in here outside of somebody by the likes of like Jordan Seaton or like Travis Hunter, I guess, when he first came to Jackson State. But I mean, I expect Jordan Seaton to be the starter right now, but it would not surprise me if, like William Barry, you brought up, if they go with something like Savion Washington and Khalil Benson, to start the year out at tackle for that would not surprise me. And I just want to preface, guys, that doesn't mean that we should be freaking out or anything. Just like Cormani, sometimes it can take a little bit of time. Risk for hamstring injury with track. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, you risk it every time you go sledding or snowboarding or skiing out here too, or, playing a pickup game of basketball there at the rec. I think it's awesome. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Bodie. Always appreciate it. Yeah, K-State is no joke. And again, I think Really Flawed was bringing this up on one of TB's streams earlier this week, and I thought it was a great point. You know, she's a Texas Longhorns fan, so she's watched Big 12 football for years and years and years. And, you know, some of these teams like Kansas State, now Kansas over the last handful of years, Oklahoma State, they've always kind of been this way where they don't have like a ton of big names on their teams historically, right? But they always play better together as like a sum of the parts rather than, you know, the value of the individual parts. Those are football teams that are coached very, very well. And I mean, Oklahoma State, maybe I need to switch out one of those games, because Oklahoma State's going to challenge us in a lot of ways in which we're deficient, right? They have that running back, what's his name? Ollie. Why am I forgetting his last name? Ollie Gordon, you know, who, I mean, could rush for, you know, over 2,000 yards this year. And I mean, y'all know we really struggled at stopping the run this year. So yeah, but I'm giving the Buffs that game right now because it's going to be in Boulder, if I remember correctly. But I believe they are returning, you know, not only Ollie Gordon, but their starting quarterback as well at OSU. But those are guys and teams, again, that always play better and tougher than their, you know, individual parts are valued at. They're always solid programs, and very rarely do you see programs like that ever reach rock bottom. Of course, Kansas is a little bit different of a story because they only started kind of investing and taking football seriously maybe 6-7 years ago. But you've seen when they've been able to resource it, you know, how that's really benefiting them. William Barry saying Eric Brantley can play both defensive end and edge. I love that. And I like that versatility. Sort of like Quincy Wiggins. Byron Wilson coming in here saying, David, did you talk about Jay Toya from UCLA? That's the kind of dog we need. Let me see here. No, I did not talk about that. Give me 1 second and I'll bring up his profile. All right. I'm going to bring up his 24/7 as well. 1 moment, please. Oh, wow. Dang, so he's kind of been at a couple different schools already. All right, almost got all these pages open. All right. Let's start here. Shall we? Okay. So transferred from USC to UCLA in 2021. And again, another highly rated guy coming out of high school, 4-star guy, top defensive line transfer when he transferred a couple of years ago. Junior, let's see what he did this year. So played 384 snaps in the defensive line, kind of graded out not well. But that kind of size, 6'3", 225, you can't teach that, right? But let's see what he did on like an individual basis. Okay, so played 393 snaps this past year at UCLA. 56.4 defensive grading. You know, that's still better than a lot of what we had this past year, to be honest. And mainly lines up on the defensive line and has a little bit of versatility with where you've seen him use, but mainly on that interior. A gap, B gap. In terms of stats, let me see. 20 tackles, 6 assists. Hey, 10 stops, though. That's nice. 7 missed tackles. Oh, well. 3 quarterback hurries. So doesn't seem like he's much of a guy that you can, depend too much on for the pass rush. But 3 pressures, 1 sack. Okay, that's nice. Had a really big game against Boise State in terms of a pass rush grade, but I don't really see too much from like a production standpoint, but I do like that size. I mean, we were talking about that. Like, man, we need some guys that are like 320 pounds plus. Man, if we could get a guy the size of Tavondre Sweat, I mean, wouldn't that be sick? But it is what it is. But I think that right now at the defensive line on the interior, we still need bodies. Especially, I thought this was interesting too. Uncle Neely said this on the DNVR pregame show yesterday that Bishop Thomas, while he is on campus going to class, he's not working out with the team right now. And so that puts us down another body for the interior defensive line. So bringing in a guy like Jay Toya, man, maybe this is one of the more realistic targets if Chip Kelly were to leave. Now, would he have to graduate? I forget the rules, or does he have a free transfer available because his head coach would leave? So has anybody heard anything about the DC? No. Cam Duncan, what do you think about Caleb's little bro committing to CU? Walk on, family member. We'll see if he can put on some weight come college. True, Dave. Oh, regarding Dylan Edwards, but it's a whole season plus your own sport. Yeah, I get that. But you only live once. Coach Cam. Hey, if I had the power, I would. William Barry is saying, Dave, I used to coach. It wouldn't be a good idea to start seating out the gate because you could ruin him. That's why you bring him out the bench 4 or 5 games, then see if he's ready to start. I love it. I talked a lot about this last year. One reason I was excited for a guy like Alt McCaskill coming in here, Savion Wilkerson, is, I was hoping that we wouldn't put too much pressure on a guy like Dylan Edwards as a true freshman up front. And obviously that plan went out the window. Right? Oh, trust me. Anthony Weaver never even entertained the Buffs. He's getting DC looks at the NFL. Trust me. Let's see what else. Going through the comments here. Y'all be nice to each other now. Best man saying, yeah, that Bishop story is not looking good. He had so much upside before the mess. Yeah, and it's just a shame, man. It really is a shame. But it sounds like he's at least creating an opportunity for him to get back on the team, and we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. Bodie, again, thank you so much for the super sticker. I can't remember if I thanked you for that, but highly appreciate it. You've been with me since day one. Dave, I know you like Bishop. I think Bishop is freaking hilarious. But yeah, but he was not good this year. Absolutely right. He was not good. And right now, my expectation, if he were on the team, with how the roster looks right now, is he's probably the last on the depth chart in terms of our defensive line. It's not looking good. But I do got his jersey. So yeah, hopefully he can get it together. Again, he's one of those guys that he just needs to get his mind right before we can expect him to do anything serious on the field. Bishop's had 6 tackles in 9 games, really? I guess I forgot that he was also injured / suspended, which is why we didn't really see much of him. Let me bring up Bishop on here, though. Why don't I see him on here? One second. All right. Yeah. Bishop Thomas, 6'2", 305. I know the weight's in question for a lot of people. Yeah, we'll see here. Played 116 snaps on the defensive line. Let me see here. I hate how Pro Football Focus makes you type in their name again whenever you pull up the premium stats page. It's hella annoying. Defense, there we are. 4 tackles, 1 assist. But I know like PFF's grades, or like how they grade tackles and assists and stuff like that, it varies a little bit from ESPN. So yeah, it's probably around those 6 tackles as well. But yeah, he had a good tackling grade, throughout the year. So that's nice. But man, he's a guy that's full of potential. You just, he's just got to put it together. And like we were talking about with Cormani, sometimes it just takes guys time in order to fully get it, for it to fully click with them. And you're hoping that Bishop Thomas can be a similar story to Cormani McLean, where we can really start seeing Bishop Thomas take that next step in his preparation, like it seems like we're seeing from Cormani now. I mean, good Lord, man, he looks more built than Travis does now. Don't y'all think so? Hey, Mike, appreciate the love. I've been a sub too. Yeah, shout out to Mike. I mean, I feel like you've been watching my my videos. Yeah, probably since I started when I was talking about Nebraska and all of that. Do you got your tickets yet for the Nebraska-Colorado game? I mean, that's going to be a great game. That's going to be a great game. Like we've always said on this channel. I mean, Nebraska was just a quarterback away, and now y'all should at least have, slightly better than decent one as a true freshman with Dylan Raiola. So, I mean, we'll see. We got our work cut out for us this next year. And yeah, as long as Husker fans, this is what I said, like y'all just got to remain patient with Matt Rule, because he's done this, multiple times at Temple, building it up from nothing, right? Then taking over that Baylor mess after Art Briles and everything like that. And they were they a winless team one year, like a 1-win team? And you saw what he did there with, was it Jared Stidham that was his quarterback for a little bit? But yeah, who cares what happened in the NFL? Plus the Panthers, they might be the worst run NFL organization right now. With that owner, they got Tepper. So, you can't really make too much out of his failures in the NFL or whatever. I mean, Nick Saban didn't, have success in the NFL either. So, I think Matt Rule is a good fit for Nebraska, and I think it's really cool that we get to kind of compare our rebuilds with each other since they're starting at the same time. And I'm hoping that we can continue this rivalry for years to come. David, if you are DC, what defensive scheme would you run? Yes, this is a great question. I think with had a little bit of conversation with some people in the comments on some of my past videos. I think we are much better suited for a scheme right now that is like a 4-2-5, right? Something like that, or like a 4-3, depending on if we need to have a nickel out there or not. So like a 4-3-4, but definitely not. We don't have the guys up front to run a 3-3-5 effectively with 3 down linemen. No way. Right now, we definitely need 4 guys there on the line applying pressure, and we can drop back 7 if needed. But yeah, we don't have the bodies up front to be running a 3-3-5. For instance, on the flip side, Nebraska, ran a lot of that 3-3-5 last year, and I mean they got the bodies to do that. They got the bodies to do that. We're not there yet at all. Mike saying, I'm going to the game. It will be fun. Both teams are getting better. Absolutely. And I mean, that's when rivalries are their best, man, is when both teams are good, when they both got games to play for. And as much as, I mean, I probably appreciated the 2018 and 2019 games more than you did. But the fact that they were really close, that's great. But it's more fun when they're close games, when both teams they're bowl eligible quality teams, right? Yeah, but we're gonna shuck that corn, Mike. Get ready. Byron saying 3-3-5 is for the high school teams like the corn. Man, I love it. I love it. Dang. Beats by BNS. Dave, you see they're already calling for Deion Sanders in Florida already if Billy has a bad season. Man, that's hilarious, man. Man, hopefully we've made him comfortable enough here, right? I still think that we should be working on an extension for Coach Prime. Again, we saw a very nice improvement this year, and I think we're going to see another nice step this year as well. It would be great to get him locked up long term again with a nice buyout, because again, I think a lot of the top jobs, a lot of those guys now are in long term contracts. So could Coach Prime leave for Florida? I'm never going to put it past someone taking an opportunity to go out to the SEC, something like that. But man, that would be one of those teams where it would be tough. But guys, again, you got to prepare yourselves in college football, man. All these coaches, they'll preach loyalty, they'll preach family, they'll preach, I'm here, I'm happy, yada, yada, yada. But there's always scenarios in which it can get them to rethink that. And, that's just business, man. It's not, I want to take that as personal. Sometimes people take this stuff, way too seriously in terms of, preaching team values, family, all of that. I mean, your workplace is try and do that. And you guys know that's a bunch of bullshit. You're there to do a job and, not really care too much about your coworkers outside of, providing a little bit of entertainment throughout the workday, right? But man, if there is an SEC program to kind of sell their souls in a sense, it would be Florida, I guess. So that might be something interesting to keep an eye on. But hey, the quicker this program becomes a winner, then it's like, why leave? Right? Right? If he goes to FSU, it will break the internet and poor Dave's heart. I mean, it would, it would hurt, but you're not going to find me being a bitter fan or anything like that. Yes, it seems like there's a lot of beef between FSU and FSU's fans and Coach Prime, but hey, at the end of the day, business and money, can help put a lot of those hard feelings, under the bridge or swept under the rug, whatever the expression is, right? So I still think that if Norvell were to ever move on, I would imagine that they would contact Coach Prime. And as much as this hurts me to say, but if I take away my subjectivity of being a CU fan, he should absolutely take that call and at least hear them out. Got another super chat in here. Thank you so much, St. Louis 21. QB play is not the same as the Pac-12. You are right about that. CU can win the Big 12 if they get an early lead. Quarterback in the Big 12, quarterbacks in the Big 12 average 10 to 15 interceptions. Wow. Wow. I mean, that's crazy. But you're totally right in terms of NFL talent at the quarterback position. I think Colorado is well ahead the rest of these Big 12 teams. I'm trying to think right now. You got Jalen Daniels over at Kansas that might have an NFL future in terms of like being a day 3 pick, or maybe sneaking into day 2 with how he performs this next year and all that combine stuff, right? But I can't name, I haven't done like a huge deep dive yet into where all the teams in the Big 12 stand right now in terms of their rosters, but I can't name another big time quarterback in the Big 12 off the top of my head. So and this kind of goes to how I project things for the most part. If you got the better quarterback, you usually have a better chance to win. The problem is that, I mean, I overestimated how we were going to be in the trench play this year. I was hoping that we would just be average, at the defensive line and offensive line. And it turns out that we were, pretty much the bottom of both in FBS college football this past year. And so we still got some ground to make up before I think we can get our lines towards, being the top of the Big 12. So if we can get average nationally at those places, average there within the 16-team conference that we're in now in the Big 12, I think that puts us in position to win a lot of games because we also have a quarterback that should be a high first-round pick next year. But thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Greatly appreciated. Man, these comments. Man, I'm trying to read through all the BS. What's up, CC? Man, y'all are fighting like a dysfunctional family always does. I think the DC holdup is probably due to all the coaching carousel and movement going on where Deion has candidates taking other interviews. Yeah. And I think so. I think a lot of the guys that he's targeting, he'll never come out and say this, I don't think. But to me, this comes off as like he has a handful of guys on their radar where like CU is, their second, third, fourth choice, right? Depending on if they're able to get, these other jobs. So y'all might see that as a real negative thing. At this point, man, I don't really care. I just want somebody that has competency that's done this before. Now, one name I still think that we should keep an eye on is Al Harris, defensive backs coach of the Dallas Cowboys. With Dan Quinn moving out to the Commanders, I was assuming that he'd be one of the guys in the running for the DC job over there in Dallas. But now it's looking like Mike Zimmer is also in contention for the Cowboys DC spot. And I don't know if Washington has hired a DC under Dan Quinn yet. So could be one of those things like Al Harris has never called a defense, if I remember correctly. I do think that I would assume that he's one of the candidates for the DC job here. But hey, if he's being considered, for like a DC position in the NFL, it's definitely good enough for me, I guess. We just can't get these hires wrong. We can't have any Sean Lewis type hire at the defensive coordinator position this year. Yeah, beats by BNS. Yeah, I commented on this a little bit ago. How do you feel about adding one more running back when the spring portal opens? Yes, 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 yes. Running backs, you deal with a lot of injuries. As much as I want to think that Alt McCaskill is going to be healthy and being our starting running back, that's still kind of up in the air, if he's going to be ready and if he's going to be able to stay healthy coming off that knee injury. So, we're one injury away from kind of being in some trouble here, where all the different running backs that we have kind of have some different skill sets, and you never honestly want to be in a position where you're relying on a true freshman like we had to do this past year with Dylan Edwards. We got one coming in with a college football type body already in Michael Welsh, but it would be nice to have some more experience there. It would have been nice to hold on to Anthony Hankerson, because I think he's a decent, well-rounded back. But we just outside of McCaskill, we don't really have that kind of guy that's also experienced. I guess we got Savion Wilkerson, and it's kind of hard to. I think Savion Wilkerson's decent, but it would be nice to bring in somebody who's a real game changer there at the running back position as well. Yeah, I agree. I agree that Peter's like a low key fan, because he spends. I love when Peter comes in here, man. But for somebody, man, that doesn't like the Buffs, man, you sure love coming in here, man. And I mean, you're probably more up to date with what's going on with the Buffs than a lot of other Buffs fans are, from how often I see you in here, man. So it's okay. It's okay to admit that low key you like the Buffs. Hey, and Peter, hey, 4-8 at the end of the day, that's still a one game, or I guess it's not a one game improvement. That's a 3-game improvement. Sorry if I can do math. It's 3-game improvement over what we had last year, man. It's not a terrible thing. And we all won money, man. We all won money on that over 3.5. East Coast Kev, how are you doing? All right, y'all. Well, I'm gonna shut this thing down. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. And hey, if you're out here in Colorado, please stay safe on the roads. I'm going to be staying in, probably watching some movies tonight. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, appreciate. Uh, please be hitting that like on the way out. Please consider subscribing if you like this thing. And I'll be back tomorrow unless there's an announcement later today. And as always, go Buffs.